In this episode, I'm going to show you the tools that you need to build large custom GPTs and powerful prompts across all major AI platforms, which include ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Grok, Copilot, DeepSeek, Qwen, and Kimi too. The goal is simple. Start building your own AI SuperStack and become completely independent from any major AI platform. Hi, my name is Christian, and welcome to Building Job Security by Mastering the AI SuperStack. This is episode 2 of 3 in our AI Sales Leads mini-series. I will include the link for episode 1 in the description below. The agenda for this video is very simple. I'm going to start with my initial thoughts. Then we're going to move into personal tools, software tools, and my final thoughts. The psychological impact of learning AI is about to hit millions of people. Let's be honest, learning new tools creates stress, it creates anxiety. And the biggest mistake people make is thinking AI is just a chatbot or some invisible automation happening in the background. Those are the people who will not save their jobs. The ones who will thrive are the people who learn how AI actually works. The people who can build workflows, write prompts, and understand the AI SuperStack. Those people don't just keep their jobs, they become the most valuable talents in the room. But that takes effort, it takes commitment, it takes practice. The good news, you can create prompts every day at zero cost. You can build your own library of smart workflows, reusable assets, and real proof of skill. The exact things that help you crush your next interview and accelerate your entire career. So the first tool that we're going to talk about is sleep. Sleep is basically your brain's save button. When you crash at night, your mind takes everything you picked up during the day and reorganizes it. Kind of like cleaning up a messy desk so you can actually find things later. If you skip good sleep, all that new info you tried to learn just doesn't stick as well. And the next day, a rested brain works way better. You focus faster, remember more, and solve problems without feeling like you're dragging your weight around. Good sleep doesn't just help you remember yesterday, it makes you way sharper for whatever you're trying to learn tomorrow. We're going to go and include the 2 links for the 2 TEDx videos that are on YouTube in the description below. So the first TEDx video shows you how important it is for you to sleep and how it impacts learning. And the second TEDx talk is basically some techniques on how to improve your sleeping. But I wanted to recommend 2 more things that us developers do. One of the things is reading or writing half an hour before going to sleep. So if you watch TV right before you go to sleep, the best thing you can do is change that habit and just read for 30 minutes or write for 30 minutes before you go to sleep. And the second thing that works very well is to have a cup of warm milk with honey. Okay? Not hot milk, but warm. And what happens is that produces hormones like secretin or melatonin naturally. Okay, you don't have to take pills to help you sleep. So the combination of a good sleeping position, to unwind from the world by reading or writing, and then taking warm milk right before going to sleep, those 3 things can make a huge difference. So the second tool that you need to think about is having the real estate space so you can work creating AI prompts. So can an AI prompt be created inside a single laptop monitor? The answer is yes. Are you going to have to work extra and you're going to get more tired by having to look at different tools inside the same screen? Absolutely. So what I recommend is that you get an extra monitor for your laptop, or if you have one monitor, get a second monitor for your PC.
Of course, we don't want you to spend a lot of money, but you can start getting anything decent for anything above $100. So the monitors are not that expensive anymore. You can get now 4K monitors for less than $300. So that is one of the most valuable tools that you will encounter when creating AI prompts. The third tool we're going to talk about is to have a clean setup. Okay, so if you're learning something new, you're being exposed to something that is going to cause some anxiety or stress, one of the best things you can do is have a very, very neat and organized desk. And one of the best ways you can find that is just go to YouTube and click on Home Office Setup, and you will see ideas on how to set up your home office or your desk to avoid clutter. Clutter basically steals your attention. So what you want to do is you want to have an office that doesn't have any clutter. Okay? And there's a lot of pro tips on YouTube on how to accomplish this, and that's going to make a huge difference in your learning experience. So the fourth tool that we're going to talk about is how to avoid stress. Okay? So the first way you can avoid stress is by writing everything, and absolutely everything. So if you are going to learn AI, you are going to create a plan for learning AI. What I personally recommend is that every day you read between 2 and 3 articles about AI, and every week you create about 3 or 4 prompts. Okay, and that they don't have to be difficult prompts. They can be something easy. They can be a custom GPT, or they can be prompts in different AIs. For example, in Grok or in Copilot, right, or in ChatGPT or in Gemini, etc. And what that is going to do is going to create a habit that you are creating AIs all the time. Okay, remember that AI at one point is going to try to replace your job. So the only thing you can do to fight back is show your employer or your interviewer that you know how to create AIs, right? Or you can actually integrate AI into your daily workflow. So create a plan. Make sure that that you stick to your plan, that you practice creating prompts. The second thing that is going to work very well to avoid stress is called space repetition. So space repetition, there's going to be a video that I'm going to include in the description about space repetition. Basically, it involves learning by doing the same thing over and over and over again. How to use AI in your daily workflow. It's basically doing the same thing over and over again. Okay? So you want to, if you think that you can learn AI in 3 months, it's impossible. Okay? Unless you're that guy from Suits that can remember every single line from every single book he read. The average person is going to need, depending on their daily schedule, anywhere between 3 months to 2 years to learn AI. Okay, because it's something new, and basically what we want to do is we want to be able to space out your learning experience, not cram everything. Okay, unless you're unemployed and you have nothing else to do, then you can take 5 hours a day to learn AI, and that's going to make a huge difference. But if you have a career and you have a family, you're going to have to space out your learning experience. So the fifth tip is very simple. Just put away your phone. I know we all love our phones, but if you really want to concentrate, any distraction will take away from your learning experience.
So the first tool we're going to install is called Visual Studio Code, and it's made by Microsoft. And it works, it's a combination of Microsoft Word and Notepad, but it's much more powerful than that. So I'm going to download the version for Windows, and I'm going to pause the video until the download is complete. Okay, so the download is complete. Let's go to the download folder and run it. Okay, click accept. Next, I'm going to use the default folders it's going to create, Visual Studio Code, and I'm going to install it. Okay, it's done installing, and it's going to launch. Here's Visual Studio Code. And one of the most powerful things about Visual Studio Code is this section here, the extensions. We're going to visit that in a second, but it has hundreds, thousands of extensions that are in the marketplace. And we're going to do one by one what's needed to create AI prompts now. So the next tool we're going to install is called Git. Git is part of the family that involves version control. If you're not familiar with version control, basically it's a software that manages changes and is able to show you side-by-side comparison of any changes. A way of describing this is very similar to what happens when several people modify a Word document, especially with lawyers. That's a legal document. You will see this many times in Word documents where some person makes one change and then someone else makes another change. And so Word starts tracking the changes in between. And then you can see what change was made, when, and what was the change all about. Okay, so why do we need to get this when creating AI prompts? That's a very good question, and it's very simple. So one of the things that happens when you program or when you write large AI prompts is that at some point, you're going to have to track the difference between what you have and what AI is trying to suggest that you do. And so what happens is that the screen is going to look very similar to what you're looking here. Of course, it's not going to be code in 90% of the cases. It's going to be in plain English, and then you're going to see what you had working and what AI is suggesting that you do. If you don't use this, it becomes very cumbersome. So if your prompt has hundreds of lines or thousands of lines, making changes will take a very long time. So by having a tool like this, with the addition of Visual Studio Code, you will see how easily it is to detect the changes that AI is suggesting and what you currently have. So that becomes a lot easier. So now I'm going to install on my computer, and I'm going to pick the Windows 64 option. Okay, it's downloading, so let's go and run it. It's a very simple installation. You're going to take all the defaults, nothing is going to change. Take everything that is suggested by default, nothing else. So Git is a lot of stuff, but you really don't need to learn everything. Most of it happens in the background. As an office worker, the only thing you really need is to know how to use Git together with Visual Studio Code. Later on, we'll move into GitHub, which is an online repository very similar to Google Drive. That's where you'll be able to store and organize your prompts and access them from anywhere in the world. Once Git is installed, it just runs on the background. What you'll see and use every day is Visual Studio Code and later GitHub Desktop, which we'll talk about soon. So the next tool we're going to download is called Python. Python is a programming language, and it's the programming language that is being used to create AI. Python is an open source language. Now, this doesn't mean that you're going to code or that you're going to create code or write code.
On the contrary, you're going to use this to download some of the code generated by AI to execute some task locally, or you're going to generate code using AI so it can be executed inside another AI prompt. The best way to install Python is to go to Google and just type install Python, and then follow the link, which is going to send you to the Python page, where we will download the Python installer. So let's download the Python installer and we'll resume the video once it's finished. Okay, we're back. It's done downloading the installer. Let's run the installer so we can run Python in my laptop. Just like Git, accept all the default settings and say yes to everything inside the installer. We can see the documentation page, but I want to assure you that this does not mean that you'll need to become a coder. So the next thing you need to do is install the Python extension inside Visual Studio Code. Go to Extensions and search for Python. We're looking for the one from Microsoft. This is the right one. Here's Microsoft. Click Install. Okay, so it's done installing. Installing this extension inside Visual Studio Code is not the same thing as installing Python into your computer. This is only installing the extension inside Visual Studio Code. Now that both installations are done, there are several ways to test if everything is working. Run the terminal and type Python version and hit enter. It's telling you that it's running Python 3.14.0, and that means you're done. You have just installed Python to your local desktop and you're ready for the next phase.
So the next tool we're going to install is called GitHub. GitHub is very similar to Google Drive or OneDrive or Dropbox. It's kind of the same thing. The only difference is how you upload files to GitHub. That is different. You can find GitHub on Google just by typing GitHub. Once there, this tool is absolutely free. It's free for basic individuals and you get unlimited repositories. Repositories are just like Google Drive folders. You have two types of folders. You have public and private. Public folders are folders that you can share, just like in Google Drive, photos with anybody in the world. Your public repository is like a public folder. If I use a public repository for this YouTube channel, anybody in the world can see my prompts. And then I also have private repositories, which I created for code that only I want to see. The first thing we're going to do is sign in using my Google account, and I am going to give it access. Now that I'm signed in, I will go to my profile and you'll see that I have several folders, and the one that I want to use is the AI SuperStack. This is where I will share most of the prompts that you will see in my YouTube channel. So this is how you would set up your GitHub account. I'm going to post several links for extensive training on GitHub, but for now, I'm just showing you the different tools you need to set up and start creating your own AI SuperStack.
Okay, the next tool we're going to download is called GitHub Desktop, and it's basically a program that runs in your desktop and allows you to upload files from your computer into your GitHub account. Okay, now I just wanted to say this briefly. There's other ways for you to upload files from your Visual Studio Code into GitHub. But the learning curve on those methods is higher than using GitHub Desktop. So that's why we're going this route. And we're going to download GitHub Desktop using the search results from Google. And I'm going to download Windows 64. And everything that I've shown you so far in Mac is absolutely identical. So I'm going to continue the episode once the download is complete. Okay, so the download is complete. Let's run GitHub Desktop. Okay, let's sign into GitHub. And once again, it's using my current there we go. So so here are the repos. Okay, now this is very important. So I have a lot of repos, right? So what we want to do is we want to right away select the correct one that we want to work with. You can switch this later on, but since this is a very brief and fast tutorial on how to use GitHub and the AI SuperStack tools that you need, we're gonna just choose this one. Okay, so basically what this is going to do, it's going to create a copy of this in my desktop. Okay, so I'm going to say clone, and then it's going to ask me where I want to put it. Okay, so for the time being, we're gonna choose this folder. Okay, and I hit clone. Okay, so if I go to that folder, there it is, and there it is, and that's where all the folder is. Now, the only thing I have to do here is I have to open that folder, okay? And I'm going to open that folder, Documents, GitHub, SuperStack, and select folder. And now, what is going on is, yes, I trust the authors of this. What's going on is that any file that I put in here is going to be synced with GitHub Desktop. Not with GitHub yet, but just GitHub Desktop. And so let me show you. So let's say I create a prompt. So I go File, New File. So MD markup. So we're going to use something called a markdown. So here it is. It's built in. And so yeah, you remember how in GitHub I was showing you that inside my my GitHub account, I have different folders. I can create one folder for each video, right? So what you want to do is inside here, you don't create the folders in here, okay? You create them in your desktop, okay? So if I were to create new folders, let's say this is my first prompt, okay? That folder, when I upload it to my GitHub account, which is in the cloud, is going to appear just like this. So now I can create my first markdown. Okay, so it's gonna see my first prompt .md, and that's the extension you have to use. Okay, prompt.md. Okay, so we have our first prompt, and okay, so I'm going to save my first prompt. Is give me the weather for Dallas. Let's save it. So this works very similar to Microsoft Word or Notepad. And just to make sure the prompt works, let's go to Gemini, for example. And just type the prompt. And let's see if it works. Great, the prompt works. Now,
it is saved inside my Visual Studio Code, and that means it's saved in here as well, right? And so what I'm going to do is I am going to commit. So it's my first prompt. Okay. I'm going to commit here. Okay. You can stage the file before you commit, but I'm just going to commit. And then I can go to GitHub, right? And I can publish this branch. Okay. So let's go to github.com and let's refresh. And there it is. You see how it appeared? So there's my first prompt. Give me the weather in Dallas. It's that simple. Okay. Now there's a lot more training that you need to take to really master Visual Studio Code and the GitHub Cloud website and the GitHub desktop app. There's a lot more to it, but basically this is what we want to accomplish. What we want is for you to have a backup of GitHub of all your prompts. So if you need to show your prompts in an interview, if you need to store the knowledge that you're going to gain taking all these trainings, you have a place where you can go and find them. And that's what we want to accomplish in this training. So briefly, I'm going to show you how to download your repo. Let's say you start a new job and you wanted to copy all the repos and all the prompts that you have made during your learning experience. Enter your new job's computer. You have several options. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my documents, GitHub, AI SuperStack, and I'm going to delete this. Okay, so it doesn't exist anymore in my computer. The first option that I have, so I'm logged into Chrome, but if I go to Edge, since it's a public repo, I'm not logged in here, as you can see. And since I'm not logged in, how can I get this? So one of the things you can do, okay, is you can download as a zip. Okay, that's option number one. So if I go to that zip file, you can see that the prompt is in there. You see? Give me the weather in Dallas. Great. So that's option number one. And this option is very safe because you probably don't want to log in into your personal GitHub account from work. Okay? The second option you have is basically copy and paste directly from the website. You can actually go in here and say, oh, you know what, I only want this prompt. I don't want everything. If you had hundreds of prompts, you probably don't want to download everything. You just want the ones that you need for work. That's option number two. Okay. Option number three is go to GitHub Desktop. Now, GitHub Desktop says, well, I'm just going to remove this for now. Okay. So I'm going to go into my AI SuperStack. And as I said, it's no longer there. Okay. So if I go to documents, you see it's not here. I can say clone. And if I click clone, what's going to happen, it's going to download it again. And now this setup is different from the previous two examples because now I can sync it back. So if I make more changes or I add more prompts, I can use GitHub Desktop to re-upload
to re-upload. So now I'm connected, I'm synced. Okay, so that's your third option. Now, this one carries a risk because in some companies, in your last day, they look for anything that you're logged in and they might delete it. So that's the risk that you run if you do it this way. So the last tool we're going to talk about is called SemanticDiff. So the best way to explain what SemanticDiff is it's a comparison window that runs inside Visual Studio Code. And basically, the way this works, and we're going to explore this in episode 3 of this mini-series, is that when the prompts get really, really big, a prompt can get up to 8,000 lines, and that doesn't include the configuration files, right? What happens is that as you're building your prompt and you're using AI, you're going to run into a wall, and that wall is basically making changes. Okay, so what SemanticDiff allows you to do, it allows you to keep a copy of your current prompt and what the AI is suggesting that you do. And one of the best ways to see what those changes are is to use a comparison tool. And so that's what this is. Okay, so there's 2 ways you can install it for Visual Studio Code. You can click on this link, and basically it's going to say install, and we're going to install it. I'm going to trust this publisher, and it's going to tell me when it's done installing, and that's it. Okay, so I'm not going to go into showing you how this works. That's going to be in episode 3. But this is one of the most powerful tools that you're going to need to create large prompts. The ability to basically compare what your last prompt version with whatever new changes you have. And you're going to do this on the fly. So as you're building your prompts, you're going to see, well, I said, give me the weather for Dallas, but now I'm going to say, give me the weather for Dallas, Texas. And then it's going to show you basically what you had with what's new. And that's the last tool that we need for creating prompts effectively. Sleep is probably the most important thing that you can do. Without that, just about nothing else works, okay? Having a second monitor will improve your performance. It will make you accomplish more in less time, and you will get less tired when you're doing it. Having a clean desk will allow you to concentrate, and using good techniques like spaced repetition will maximize your learning. That's also very, very important. So all these software tools, they don't work without these 4 major components behind them. And so what are the software tools? So Visual Studio is basically an editor that runs locally in your machine, and though the prompts will never get executed in Visual Studio Code, you are more efficient in building these prompts by using it. GitHub is just a cloud repository that not only will save all your work, but also will allow you to build a portfolio for your next interview. Installing Python, although you're not going to be an engineer or a coder, will help you run some of the tools locally once you learn how to use it. And then in the future, when you create really complex prompts, it will make a difference. And SemanticDiff will help you create more bigger and larger prompts efficiently by allowing you to compare changes suggested by the AI. So what is at heart in this episode? Basically, installing local tools makes you free of just one AI. All these AIs, Gemini, ChatGPT, are starting to build their own developer tools. But the only thing that's going to accomplish is for you to continue using that tool forever. And that's not what the AI SuperStack is all about. It's all about creating independence. So that's what we want to accomplish in this episode. We want to show you how to be independent from any AI So you can create these workflows that will start creating the job security that you need, because you are the player who knows where all the pieces are. And that's what we want to convey in this episode, that you need to use the tools that guarantee your job security, and not the tools that are provided by the AI necessarily, although they're good tools and you probably will use them. But that's not what is at heart in the AI SuperStack. And don't forget, you can always find me in LinkedIn. Thank you for watching.